Hi there. In this video tutorial, I'll show you how we can manage virtual machines or guest operating systems in Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager. In my other tutorials on Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager, I have covered how to add a shared folder and how we can set up a virtual CPU and add a disk to it, and how to add a DVD or CD drive to it and make an ISO image or disk image available so that you can boot your virtual CPU or virtual machine and install your operating system. In this particular session, I will cover a very useful feature of taking backup of your virtual machine. I have this virtual machine which is running a Linux operating system, namely CentOS. I want to take its backup. So let's see how we can do that. Right click, go to clone. Here you need to provide it a name. So by default it has added this keyword clone. So you can say, for example, backup. Reinitialize the MAC address of all network cards. This step seems appropriate in case you want to run this virtual machine at the same time you run your backup machine. So when you reinitialize the MAC address of all network cards configured for the existing virtual machine, then their MAC addresses will be new. There will not be any conflict. If you intend to use only one of the two machines, then you can leave this option unselected. I want to have an exact copy of my existing virtual machine and run some different programs side by side, maybe for server and client interaction. I have an application, I have a web application or web server. So on my existing machine I want to run web server, that is Apache, and the backup that I am creating, it will be an exact copy of my existing machine, and I will use it as a client or maybe install some other application on it. And I want to see how both these machines can interact with each other with respect to my application or server. So whatever your purpose is, in that case I will select this option. Click next. Here you see full clone and linked clone. So I need to select full clone because I want an exact copy of my existing machine. If I select linked clone, as you can read here, that a new machine will be created, but the virtual hard disk files will be tied to the virtual hard disk files of original machine, and you will not be able to move the new virtual machine to a different computer without moving the original as well. So if you perform full clone, Then you can easily move your cloned virtual machine onto another system. Or in case you accidentally or intentionally remove your existing virtual machine, you still have its backup. A fully functional virtual machine with the guest operating system you installed on the original one. Click clone. So this process is going to take a few minutes depending upon the size of the hard disk. As you can see the progress here, cloning disk. So this disk CentOS.vdi is the virtual hard disk attached to my virtual machine, and it is being cloned. The process has finished. I have this new machine which is an exact copy of my existing virtual machine. Let's start it. So this machine is up and running now. If I want to run my original machine at the same time, I can do that. Let's start that one too. As you can see, my both machines are working, are up and running. I can log into them as usual. I'm running Linux. You may be running Windows or some other operating system. If you remember, we selected the option that says reinitialize all networks or network cards MAC address. So let's see what difference it makes. This is my original machine. Let's have a look at the MAC address of the virtual Ethernet card configured for this machine. Here is the MAC address, and this is my backed up machine. So you can see that the MAC address differs from the original machine's network MAC address. You can also notice that the Ethernet has been identified as ETH1 in the new or cloned machine. It should be ETH0 as in the original machine. Why this difference is there, that's another thing. If you are running Windows, steps may differ to resolve this problem. But in case you are running a Linux guest operating system, then I can show you here how you can rectify this problem easily. There are ways. I'll show you just one of those several ways. This file inside directory /etc /udev /rules.t, the file name is digit 7 and 0 dash persistent dash net dot rules. Let's have a look at the old MAC address or the original MAC address of the interface. I'll redisplay the contents of this file. As you can see, there are two entries: subsystem, another subsystem. The first entry has the same MAC address as it was in the original machine. Because we reinitialized the MAC address, so the new MAC address has got its own separate entry in the same file. In the original virtual machine, you will see only one entry. Let's see here. You see only one entry for the subsystem net, and the MAC address is present there. The device name is ETH0. Because a new MAC address has been identified, it has been given a new name, ETH1. Your first interface is called ETH0 and the second is called ETH1. If you are using CentOS or Red Hat Linux version 6, in 7 naming conventions have changed, but in 5 and 6 you will see similar output. As the file for this interface ETH0 remains same in the new machine, because we did not make any changes in the files stored on the hard disk, and there is no file for ETH1. So here IP address is missing for this new interface, because it was configured for the interface named ETH0 only. There is no associated file inside this directory. see the file if cfg-eth0 is present, not if cfg-eth1. So you can simply rename this file and change its contents. Inside the file, you can make this device name to look ETH1 and things will work. You can reboot your system or restart the network services. Let's try to do that. I'm making a copy of this file. Okay, I already had a copy. Please note that I don't really need to rename the file to make this part look ETH1, because this is for me to recognize easily that ETH0 is associated with my first interface ETH0, and if I have a file named ifcfg-eth1, then it is for the second interface. When this interface configuration file is read by the system, this parameter and all other parameters are read in. So device name ETH0 is identified. I have made it ETH1. So for ETH1, whatever configuration I have specified in this file will be applicable. Let's restart the network service. So my machine has got an IP address now. But watch, if I don't want to look confused later on, and so I want to make this ETH1 look exactly the same as it is in the original machine. You also noticed that when we restart network service, you see here bringing up interface ETH0, shutting down interface ETH0. So there is actually only one interface. So the system recognizes the first interface as ETH0. In our configuration file for the interface, we have changed the name of the interface to look ETH1 because the MAC address we saw in the file here the new MAC address is associated with the new name ETH1. Now let's look at another way of achieving the same result. I keep my interface configuration file same as it was. Of course, you may want to make changes to this file if you have chosen a static IP. I'm using DSCP, so I don't have to make any changes in this file. If I'm using static IPs, then I certainly need to make changes to this configuration file for the first interface, which is ETH0. So I keep my file as it is here. Next, we remove this file. It will be auto-generated when we restart the system, because when we restart the system will see only one interface attached to this machine, and it will be named ETH0, and the new MAC address which has already been assigned to it will be picked up, as it happened when we restarted the machine. As it happened when we started the machine first time. Restarting network services will not help here, so we need to reboot the system. As you can see, determining IP information for ETH0 done. If you noticed, it had failed when we started the machine first time. You see, the interface has been designated as ETH0. Let's have a look at the file we deleted. If we got it again. Yes, we got it. So this file has been regenerated, and there is only one entry for the subsystem called net. And you see, the device has been named or identified as ETH0. So this is how you can resolve network configuration related issues when you clone an existing machine. If you are using some other operating system such as Windows, then the steps may differ. There is another way of taking a full backup of your existing virtual machine. This is a user-friendly approach we just saw, because Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager provides you ways to take a backup of your existing virtual machine. We can, however, manually take a backup of our virtual machine and use it. Let's see how to do that. I'm going to just power off these two machines. Please don't follow this method I am using here. This is not the right way. I am forcefully shutting down both the machines. Let's also see how we can remove a virtual machine. Right click, select remove. You see some options here. Delete all files and remove only. If you select remove only, the virtual machine will not be shown here. And if you select delete all files, then its associated hard disk, as you can see here, will also be deleted. So if you have any data on your virtual hard disk on that guest operating system, it will be lost unless you have a separate backup. As I know that I have a backup already, so I am choosing delete all files. If I don't want to go for this option clone, is there any other way? Yes. Let's see where this virtual hard disk is. You can see the path shown here. Click storage. You can click here and copy the path to this virtual hard disk and just make a simple copy of that hard disk. My virtual hard disk is placed here. I can make a copy of it, place it somewhere else. Disk has been copied here. I can give it some other name, for example CentOS-backup. I did not choose clone because I don't really want a new machine. I just want a backup of my original machine so that in case I mess up with my guest operating system, I make some unwanted changes, or I just play around the guest operating system, whatever that I'm trying to test or perform some research and development activities. I don't want to install my operating system again and again. I can take a backup of the virtual hard disk and just attach that virtual hard disk to my virtual CPU or virtual machine. And that's all. In fact, I can create a new virtual machine if I want to. And instead of creating a new hard disk this time, I can attach the hard disk I just copied. So I'm going to use this hard disk. And as you see here, fail to open the disk image file, the path to that VDI, that is the virtual disk. And if you click details, It's pretty much clear here that the new disk cannot be registered. The reason is every hard disk has a unique ID. As we just created a copy of the existing hard disk, the UUID has not changed. That's why you see this error. So you may run into this problem and then wonder what happened and what to do next. No worries. Click OK here. Click cancel here. Or even if you want to create a new virtual machine, you can select do not add a virtual hard disk for the time being and then create your virtual machine as usual. Well, let's click cancel. So let's first address that problem. Go to the directory where your VirtualBox manager is installed. It should be here inside program files, Oracle directory, VirtualBox. And there is this program, VirtualBox Manager, vbox manage.exe. It supports some commands. Let's use internal commands. Set HD UUID and then path to the disk whose UUID we want to reset. Let's copy the path here. As we know, the new disk has this name, CentOS-backup, and the extension is .vdi or whatever extension it could be. Let's hit the enter key. Now you can see UUID changed to this. So a new UUID has been assigned to this virtual hard disk. Now let's go here, create a new virtual machine using the backed up hard disk. Select use an existing virtual hard disk file. Let's go here, select the copied or backed up hard disk and proceed. That's it. Go to network, enable network adapter, and then you can choose an appropriate option from the drop down list. I'm going to use host only adapter, which is what I have used in my original machine as well. Click advanced. You see MAC address, you can change it here like this. As we have already seen how to address MAC address problems, because the MAC address remains the same in the new machine, and when we clone an existing machine, we can reinitialize the MAC address. Click OK. Click Start. virtual machine is booting up. The new MAC address has been assigned. As we have already seen how to address this problem, so I'm not going to repeat it here again. So that's all about how you can take a backup of your existing virtual machine. We have seen that we can take a full clone, or we can simply take a backup of just the virtual hard disk and attach it to an existing machine or a new machine. Thank you for watching.